What is up everyone, it is me with ADHD, and today I want to talk about self-medicating your ADHD. So let's do that. Real quick before we do that, if you haven't already, make sure that you click that subscribe button, click the bell icon, stay up to date with all my new content. Anyway, as you guys know, I'm currently medicated for my ADHD, but that wasn't always the case. For the first 27 years of my life, I wasn't medicated at all. And of course, like many other people who aren't diagnosed yet, I found other ways to handle and manage my symptoms by subconsciously self-medicating myself. Now, for me, the biggest and latest one that I can remember of self-medicating before the Adderall is coffee. I used to have so much coffee in a day, and that's like a super common vice for people with ADHD because it's a stimulant. And what happens when you put stimulants in your body? It produces more dopamine, that key chemical that all ADHDers just can't regulate properly. So while a neurotypical brain would use coffee to wake themselves up in the morning or to keep themselves awake in the afternoon, ADHD brains use it as a tool to help themselves focus more throughout the day. So I actually noticed it a couple of years ago when it was helping me to focus more at work. I'd have a bunch of coffee and it was this awesome feeling where I was able to fully focus on what I was doing. It was like amazing to me. But the problem is, like every other unregulated stimulant that I've ever had in my life, I just cannot help but keep going and taking it to the next level. And before I knew it, I was having like 6 or 7 cups of coffee a day, and then I was overstimulated. And that's a bit of an issue too. If any of my Tourette's fam are out there, then you know exactly how much this level of stimulant wreaks havoc with your tics. It is crazy how much worse they got. Whew. So that was like my most recent form of self-medicating, and if I think back to like the one before that, it was, let's say, a little bit more dangerous. It was actually probably alcohol, I would say, was my form of self-medicating before that. And I don't think by any means I was an alcoholic at all, but unfortunately that is a pretty common reality for the adult ADHD community. In fact, looking at statistics, about half of undiagnosed adults with ADHD have issues with alcohol dependency. But for me, it was more of a case of like, the more I drank, the more dopamine was released into my brain, of course, and that led me to not really know when to stop, and that can be a little bit of an issue. Another way to self-medicate, which I do, which I didn't even know this was a way to self-medicate at all. In fact, I'm probably sure you didn't know either, but working out is actually a way to self-medicate. So about 8 years ago, I'd say, I was like full-blown addicted to working out. It just feels so good sometimes when, you know, when you're on like that pure health kick where you're totally healthy in your food, you're working out all the time, and then every time you get like a super good hard workout in, you just feel so sharp and like clear-minded, and it's just like such an elevating feeling for you. Well, that's because the workout increases the blood flow to your brain, which then gets the endorphins in your body going, which, you guessed it, increases the amount of dopamine released into your brain. And truthfully, this is like mainly a good way to self-medicate. I mean, I personally am a huge advocate of being healthy in your body because it helps to promote a healthy mind. I mean, we've all heard the phrase healthy body, healthy mind, and truthfully, from my own experience, I can tell you that that is very true. But of course, it does come with its risks as well. I mean, you can become addicted to working out, you can become addicted to that feeling after a workout, and that can lead to a number of health issues in like your body being overworked. You can damage your body, it can even lead to some kinds of eating disorders. So, you know, it does come with its risks as well as its pros. To me, it's just crazy. It seems so crazy to me, right, when you think of it like this. So I never knew for my entire life that I had ADHD. I just never knew. new, right? But my body subconsciously latched onto these certain things because it knew that like I needed dopamine, and it knew that my body wasn't getting enough of that, so it just kind of used these things as vices just to help me get by. It's very similar to like when you leave out certain food groups in your diet, right? So like if you leave out a certain food group, eventually your body is going to be malnourished from that certain nutrition that you're leaving out, and your body's going to start craving it way more than it ever would have done in the past. And sometimes, for me even, I find myself dreaming about the foods in that food group that I haven't eaten. It's just cool how the body works like that. But in reality, when you look at the grand scheme of things and the whole thing of self-medicating itself, I can see how it can be a dangerous thing. I mean, there's one way that I haven't even spoke about in self-medication, and that's because I don't have the experience to do so, but there's also actual drug abuse, like hard drugs that people use to self-medicate themselves, and that in itself is a whole different kind of dangerous. So that's also why it's super duper important that if you think that you might have ADHD, to go and talk to somebody and get tested for it, because it could stop you subconsciously self-medicating and maybe escalating that and then leading to a direction in your life that you really don't want to go down. Anyway, that is all I've got for you on self-medicating. That's my experience with it. I'd love to hear about your experiences with self-medicating. Have you guys done it? Do you guys know you've done it? You may have done it subconsciously and never even noticed before. Like the video if you did. Don't forget to subscribe. Click that bell icon to stay up to date with all my new content, and I will see you guys in the next one.